Hello Stitchy World, this is Anna Gutova and this is Artmishka July 2021 news and my Flosstube number 4, I guess. My biggest July news, well, no, I don't want to say my biggest July news. Let me say my most upsetting July news was that Artmishka Facebook account was hacked and blocked after that. While I understand that it's maybe not the most desirable situation, but I would say in our world this is quite common. The most upsetting part in that situation was that Facebook really is completely useless in this kind of situation. The protocol that they are using to solve such problems is nothing. I mean, whatever protocol is, it's definitely not really reflecting what's going on. So in my situation, I received an email saying that my account was accessed. Whomever accessed my account changed the password, changed email address. So all the solutions that Facebook was offering in those automatically generated emails were actually sending all the security codes to a new email, to the hacker's email and not to mine, which to my point of view is completely ridiculous once you are informing a user, account holder, that the email address was changed and you were suggesting to reject this action. I would say it would make more sense to send the code to reject the action to the old email address, to the original one, and not to the new one. So it was some nonsenses like that. Basically, there is no any real person to talk to from the Facebook in such situation. All what Facebook offers is a collection of ready articles, ready links, no reply emails, those that are coming to anywhere. In some point, I finally came to the situation where I had to send them my ID in order to have my account reactivated. And the email that I received again from one of those no reply numbers said, "Hi, we can't give you access to this account until we receive an accepted form of ID." I've sent them my password. I don't know what can be more accepted than that. And again, that is coming from the no reply email address, so you cannot understand what exactly was wrong. You have nobody to talk to. Another thing which I would like to point, that while spending those days of trying to get the solution to that situation, I came across a group in the Facebook which was called the Facebook Help Center, and from the information and everything, it seemed like it's a really kind of official Facebook group where people were writing the situation more or less similar like mine. Well, some of them were exactly like mine. And while you're thinking that you're actually sending a message to admin who claims to be the technician, some technical stuff of Facebook, in the end it turned out to be a scam, because after me sending a message I received the response saying that I have to buy some special codes that will help me to reactivate my account. I was suggested that I have to pay 100 euros in order to get those codes. So of course I ignored those kind of solutions. So, but here it is, what it is. In some point I realized that I really don't want to spend my energy on that, because I have no power over Facebook organization. Nothing I can do about that. It's so the only what I can do, I can either leave completely the social media and say I don't want to be part of it, but since I don't really want to do it because it's still quite a common way to communicate, that's why I just start over again. So I'm afraid that the old Artmishka page, which was called Artmishka Cross Stitch Patterns by Anna Gutova, and the group that I had, the Cross Stitch Patterns by Anna Gutova, are no longer managed by me, because since my account was blocked and since I was an admin in those two places, I cannot manage it anymore. I was still able to write some posts in my group and also on my page from my other personal account, but I don't manage the group anymore. So I was able actually quickly to write a message on my Facebook group to tell them that do not react to any possible messages that might come from my hacked account, that it's not me, that I don't also want the other people to be hurt. So I informed immediately that whatever is happening in this group right now, it's not me. And I registered my new page. I'm going to leave all the links. Please, if you'd like to keep having information, keep receiving my updates, my stories, to get some inspiration from me. So please follow my new page. You can leave the group Cross Stitch Patterns by Anna Gutova, because obviously I cannot do it anymore. It's a sad thing, but the good news is Artmishka is still here, everybody is alive, no harm was done to my health, to the health of my family, and that is the most important thing. Okay, and now let's move to the more pleasant things, actually, to what Artmishka is all about, and let's start with our usual update about what's going on in the Stitch Alone animal alphabet. Let me take my current work. I'm sorry, I was working on it just last night, that's why it was not right here in front of my hands. Okay, so since last update, I did another 2 animals. One is a little pig and a quoll. I hope you can see them well, which makes my work bigger and bigger every day. I'm so in love with this. Actually, I just can't wait to have it completed, to frame it and hang it in my son's room. Actually, right now, my son is already getting very curious, and he's already asking me, oh, what that mean, what that mean. My son just started learning English, so for sure he native, we don't speak English at home, but my son just starts his educational process, and for him it's really very helpful. What else? I completed the commission for Zweigert. Here it is. Well, it's not exactly a commission. I don't know if you can call it like that. If you remember in my last Flosstube in the June 2021 news, I was mentioning that I was invited by Zweigert to participate in their annual designer booklet. It is a booklet that with a different with the cross-stitch patterns that Zweigert is issuing every year. They invite designers to design for them, and the theme for this new booklet is happiness. And that's how I see the happiness. I have this little pretty girl. Now, once it's completed, my next step, I'm working on the final chart just to make it all pretty beautiful and ready to use for you, and it's going to be listed in my Etsy shop. As usual, all useful links, how you can find me in all places, wherever you prefer, I'm gonna leave in the description to this video, so we can get connected. Another finish that I had is hydrangea. I still, for me, it's still a funny name, honestly. I don't know why. So if you're a native English speaker, so you possibly laugh like, okay, what's so funny about this name? I don't know. For me, it just sounds interesting. So here it is, this beautiful hydrangea. I love it. I mean, just to say I love it, it's to say nothing. I love it, I adore it. You can notice that it uses like basically just a few back stitches. You see here they are on the handle. Everything else is a full cross stitches, and here on the table that is stitched by the half cross stitches, which are even easier. Basically you just make one stitch and you don't actually make the cross out of it. I stitched it on even weave Murano from Zweigert, 30-second count, 2 strands of threads over 2. And I like very much how, you know, those splashes add some, I don't know, painting-like effect to this work. And my usual finishing, ta-da! A beautiful cardboard from one of my son's game. So I just stretch my stitching over it, and here how it looks like, and then I keep it on mini easel right here, and once I'm tired I'm gonna just change my decor and place here something else. By the way, I was very happy actually to hear that many of you liked very much my idea of stretching the stitching over the cardboard. So if you are doing the same, just a little tip for you, don't forget to back your fabric with some light sheet of paper. So because usually the cardboard is not white, so it's usually this kind of beige, gray, brownish color. So if you don't want your fabric reflect that color of the original color of the cardboard, what I do when I cut the piece that I want, I always just glue the piece of the very normal white, the copy machine white paper here, and only after that I stretch my fabric on top of it. So like that you will make sure that actually your fabric will have the color that it actually is, so but will not add any other hints of your cardboard. I started working on a new stitching. I decided that Christmas in July is a thing. Why not? Let's start working on Christmas design, and here it is my Santa helpers design. So I already have a little beginning right here. So that's what I started to do. I had this piece of even weave. I even don't know where I got it from. It's definitely not Zweigert that I usually use. I believe I got it in one of those craft fair here in Italy. So, but I thought that this kind of, you know, like homemade color, you know, will actually add this feeling of coziness, maybe to this design. So you see, well, the first Santa helpers is almost done. It's gonna be some back stitching in this picture, but it's not gonna be difficult. As usual, you know, when I make the back stitching in my designs, I always remember that it has to be simple, because I'm not a fan of those fractional back stitching that it's almost impossible to get it from the first side, and then you have to unpick stitch again. So I try to keep it nice and simple. These are just the threads for this project that I'm working on. You see how Christmassy they are, red and green. Yeah. Okay. And I released a couple of new designs in my Etsy shop, so please, you can have a look. One of them is snail house. I really don't have anything right now to show you right now how it looks like, so please, if you're interested, have a look. I'm planning to start working on it as soon as I'm done with my Santa helpers. And I made a sampler, or I even don't know if it's right to call it a sampler, because you see, usually my work is quite illustrative, you know, it has to be something, but I was always enjoying looking at something more simple. And a while ago I was in Milan, and I went to a fabric store, and on that fabric store was a kind of exposition of the vintage fabrics. And in that exposition I've seen some prints of William Morris. So I don't know if you know who William Morris used to be, a British textile artist in the end of 19th century, if I'm not mistaken. So and I loved it so much, and I was like walking and looking through all this, and I was thinking that would be so cool actually to stitch those. So I got some inspiration. I completely changed the color palette, so I did completely by my own, and I hope you can see it from here. I came up with this sampler that I have right here in my computer screen. Of course, I'm going to stitch it. I'm not sure if you can see it. You see, it's only full cross stitches, nothing but cross stitches. It's quite usual, but once I finished it, I was so in love. I thought that it can be done if you don't like those colorful rainbow color palette. By the way, when I published this new design in my Instagram page, one of the comments said that, well, it's beautiful, but it's a little bit too much, all these rainbow colors, which I actually quite agree sometimes. But you see, you can have also that design in many other different colors. It doesn't have to be actually different colors. It can be just two colors. You can match it whatever your home decor, you can match it with some of your existing work, so then it can create like a nice set for you. So it's really, there are a lot of different options. You can use those color variated threads, I believe that's what they call, which actually that would be a really cool idea. So there are many ways, and that design you can already get in my Etsy shop, so it's already over there. Please, I'm sure it will be a very nice project. Okay, so here it is, all what's happened with us in July. In August, I am planning to be on vacation. I am going to spend 3 weeks only with my family. So I believe if I will make an August Flosstube, it will be very short, because I'm planning to stitch, but definitely I will not be able to do it as usual. And as of creating the new patterns, I don't know how it's all going to work. But anyway, I will keep you posted about, keep your Facebook and other social media and actually all of your accounts safe. Remember that 2-step authorization never hurts. Try to do it. I don't know if it really helps to protect your account, but definitely it adds another step that will create some issues for possible hacker to get into your account. So enjoy your vacations if you are on, if you're planning to. A lot of happiness, a lot of good weather to you this summer, with all my best wishes to you, to your family, to your friends, and let's keep in touch. Bye bye.